Mahershala Ali says there's a certain level of fear involved when he chooses a role, and his latest, Leave the World Behind, certainly fits the bill. The film begins with the Sanford family, played by Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke, Charlie Evans, and Farrah McKenzie, as they opt to stay in a gorgeous rental home outside of their life in Brooklyn for a brief family vacation. It all goes to hell, though, when the rental's owner G.H. Scott, Ali, and his daughter, Ruth, Mahershala Harold, show up on their doorstep bearing news of a widespread blackout and cyber attack that takes them all off the grid, maybe forever. The circumstances were something that really caught my attention and felt like it was an opportunity to play a character who was moving through a very heightened and intense situation, and those make for really interesting circumstances and for great drama. Ali tells EW. And there's some difficult moments in there as an actor as well that I tend to feel a little bit, I don't know if scared is the right word, but certain moments will make me nervous in reading the script. He continues, but I also know that that's the very reason why you do it, because you're questioning, how are we going to pull this off? How am I going to do this? And I always get so curious that I end up finding myself really wanting to do it as a result of perhaps feeling some anxiety around certain moments, just a lack of clarity as to if I feel like I could pull it off or not. It's not a spoiler to say that the two-time Oscar winner does, in fact, pull it off in the disaster film, which is adapted for the screen and directed by Sam Esmail. Ahead, Ali talks about his prophetic character, how shooting during COVID made the film feel more uncomfortable, his take on the movie's ambiguous ending, and what the thriller has to say about modern society's prison of convenience. Mahershala Ali. There's nothing about the character that I think is particularly explosive or surprising per se, but I think what was interesting was exploring a character that is in an unfamiliar position for me as a black man. And I hate to sort of lead with that because we should continue to have these conversations around diversity and things of that nature, but I don't want that to take over the conversation per se about the character. But I think in all honesty, I'm always attracted to something that feels different from what's out there and different from me personally in terms of things that I've gotten to play. And so I feel like there's some elements in that character in terms of how sort of linear and practical he is. But I do think that there's something really intriguing about his approach to how he studies the market. He has this prophetic characteristic where he can look at the market, study the numbers, and draw a conclusion from what appears to just be something that is mathematical. He can derive other things from that information. And in his experience, he has been right before. Some of those things are in the book. Some of those things were in the script. And when you look at a movie that's running 2 hours and 30 minutes, everything can't make it. But that information was still there for me as an actor to pull from to help develop the character. I think that world of finance is a bit of a mystery to me as an artist, just in how that world functions. And to get to take on a character that felt like he had some elements of him that were unknown to me is always inherently interesting to me. Each character in the film handles the apocalypse very differently. Which character do you feel you'd most be like in this disaster scenario? I feel like I probably would have elements of all those characters. There's elements with GH that I recognize in myself. But there's the things that Ethan's character struggles with, trying to make himself step up, trying to do things the right way, sort of challenging himself as a man to step up in a way in which he perceives a man is supposed to step up. I think a lot of people wrestle with those things, especially in the era we're in, where we're questioning all the ways in which we may have been socialized or raised in a certain way. And I'm sure I would worry in the way in which Julia's character worries. So I imagine I could pull a little bit from each of these characters and see myself probably responding similarly, which is also why it's great, because I think people can probably see a little bit of themselves in any of those characters. Did working on Leave the World Behind make you think more about cyber attacks or apocalypses in general? Was the likelihood of that a topic of discussion on set? We started in February 2022, and if you remember, at least in this industry anyway, we were testing for COVID 3 or 4 times a week, I want to say.